Welcome to chapter 20 of Memoirs of a White Guy. You guys just got silenced so hard. Oh my god, did you hear that? Nah, because you got silenced. So, where's Scotty from Prank Patrol at, okay? Because you guys just got pranked. Or where's Ashton Kutcher at? Because punked, huh? I bet you, but for real though, one of you reached into your pocket, thought you didn't hit play, or thought you'd accidentally hit pause. One of you thought it, and I bet you, I got you, man. Whoever, or boy or girl, whoever got, you got. You must feel like a goose, an absolute goose. I'd be embarrassed if I were you. Anyway, geez, what's that? Another terrible start to the podcast. You're welcome. So yeah, this is Memoirs of a White Guy, the podcast where I hit record, and I don't know what else. That's it. I hit record. It doesn't get much better than that. Usually the actual button press is where the podcast peaks, and after that it's all downhill. But you guys listen, and the annoying part is I get positive feedback on it as well. People are like, dude, I'm addicted to your podcast, man. Listen to it religiously. Absolutely love it. Listen to a bunch of episodes 7 or 8 times, and I'm like, really, man? You want it to be silenced 7 or 8 times? I hated that the first time. The first time that sucked. Anyway, you know what it is with podcasts? People have really low expectations. Because say if you if I did this on stage, stand up, that would be completely unacceptable. The crowd would just be like, this is not what I didn't pay to get silenced. I'm confused. But with podcasts, people are just going about their day doing other shit, so they don't care. I don't even have to try. You guys make it too easy, okay? You need to start having some self-respect for your ears or some shit. Anyway, I was supposed to start off with the weekly fun fact, because last week I got suggested a new segment, and this week I gave an example of what the fun fact would be last week, and I think we could all agree it was a pretty fun fact. So I've got another weekly fun fact. So a guy messaged me saying, hey man, new segment for the podcast, you could do a fun fact at the start of every episode. And I was like, oh, that's, it doesn't sound that good, but maybe if we just try it for a few weeks, we'll give it a test run, see how it goes. So, let's just get the podcast up to a light, jovial start, and then we'll get into some of the more, maybe downy subjects. Anyway, so this is this week's weekly fun fact. You've been deeper inside your mum than your dad ever has. So it's a fact. It's a pretty fun fact just to start the podcast off with. So yeah, again, man, thanks for the suggestion of the fun facts. That's certainly got me thinking about my mum and my dad, and it's just a fun. Oh, this is a real fun. I'm glad I did that. Okay, let's move on to the... God, I'm shit. Alright. Okay, so this week, right, last week I told a story about the sticky coins. You might remember I unloaded. To recap, if you didn't listen or haven't caught last week's podcast yet, you should go listen to it. It's a banger of an episode. I talk about fat birds far too much, but that's just this podcast though. So if you got a problem with that, you should probably stop listening to this episode as well. But I've probably just got a few of you excited. There's no fat bird stories this week. Just, I'm sure it's going to come up again, just because it always does. But yeah, last week I had a situation where I had a paw little tube explode in the console of my car. Long story short, it made a bunch of coins in my car really sticky. So to unload them, I put them in a self-serve machine. And then I went back the day later, got served back my own sticky coins by the self-serve machine, right? And I thought this was over. I'm like, what? This saga, I'm finished with my sticky coins. This sticky coin saga is over. So I went back to Safeway this week. And I went to the same, because I'm so lazy that I always just go to the first self-serve checkout. And I went to scan my first item, and then I read that it had an out of order sticker on it, the same one that I just used. And then my mate was actually the guy working at the self-serve, and I was like, hey, how long has this been out of order for? And he's like, probably 3 days. And I counted back, and I was like, 3, yeah, that was when I put the coins in. And I was like, oh, so what's wrong with it? Do you know? And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I think it was something wrong with the change. The change wasn't coming out properly. And I was like, that's really surprising, man. I don't know who would stuff up your self-serve coin machine, haha. And then I just like went to the other one and then left really quickly because I totally fucked up their self-serve machine. I'm 90% sure, like the stickiness just ruined the machine because it happened to be like, there's no way. Like, so I guess a kid could have shoved like a gumball in there, but like, nah. I reckon I'm pretty confident that it was my sticky coins, and I'm probably gonna not go back there for at least a week, just to, it's better to freeze out the whole establishment than risk getting busted by it. A good thing to not do would be talk about it in a public forum like this, but I feel like it's blown over now. I still haven't said what Safeway it is either, so really, it's fine. It's just, you know what? Actually, it's not even a Safeway. It's an Aldi. Or it was a Coles or an IGA. I don't remember. Anything's possible in this crazy world. Moving on, I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, I totally stuffed up their self-serve machine. And, yeah, that's, what's that? I can collectively hear you all not giving a shit about my sticky coins, which is fair enough. And, so I'll talk about something. Actually, speaking of things that no one gives a shit about anymore, Trump's president. Like, Donald Trump is the president now of the United States. It happened this week. It just kind of went. It came and went. Nothing happened. I mean, if anything, the world's a better place now. And obviously that's a very controversial statement, but hear me out. He's been president for like 2 or 3 days now, and there's already been 2 hilarious news stories out of it. Like, he's pumping out 1 a day. That's like, over the 3-year sentence, that's almost 900 hilarious Trump things. This is going to be good. Like, this is going to be a good term that he'll serve. I mean, yeah, like World War III, but like, you got to think of the memes. So, like, during the week, many of you already seen that it went viral on Facebook that he copied the character Bane from Batman's, in his inauguration speech. He quoted Bane when he was giving one of his creepy speeches to the people. Like, he's like, we do it for the people. Like, that the dude with the mask from The Dark Knight Rises. And if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's pretty funny. It's pretty much word for word just a quote from Batman. And I think that this just shows how much of a dumbass Donald Trump is, because Bane, the character from Batman, he's not a charismatic or particularly intelligent character. His whole thing as a villain is like that he's just a meathead and he like bashes the shit out of people and he's physically scary and overpowering. But like, he's not a guy you'd quote. If anything, you'd quote the Joker. Like, he's more of an intellect. Even though he's crazy, he's more of like an intellect. Like, I think Trump quoted the wrong Batman villain. That's what I'm saying. It would have been way better if he's like, you want to know how I got this tan? My father was a millionaire, and he said, Donald, why so pale? You know what I mean? Like, that'd be so much funnier. Like, do you want to know how I got this shit haircut? Well, my hairdresser was unqualified, and you want to know how I got this squirrel-looking fucking thing on my head? Well, my pet died. Like, that'd be a better speech instead of quoting some fat meathead villain from the second best Batman film. Like, that's the Trumps just can't write an original speech to save themselves. Like, his wife Melania, or whatever her name is, copied Michelle Obama's speech almost word for word when he got elected as president. And you know that this is not going to be the last time that this happens. Like, throughout his whole term, he's going to keep pulling from Hollywood films. Like, he'll have like a meeting with like, some leader from like Russia, and he'll be like, to all the American people out there, I'm going to make him an offer that he can't refuse. And everyone's like, woo! And you're like, yeah, that's just off The Godfather, mate. Or say if he's in another country and he calls back to the White House, before he dials, he'll be like, DT, phone home. Donald, get some original quotes, mate. That's all I mean. He's got Grab Him by the Pussy. I guess he's got a couple of originals. He's got Make America Great Again. But I just think he's gonna keep pulling from Hollywood, and honestly, I'm excited. I don't know why people are so mad about him being president, because nothing's gonna change. I mean, yeah, he might like start a nuclear war or whatever, but like that's a whole it's future. Well, it's future problem. Let's live in the moment and laugh at the memes. That's all I'm saying. And the other news story that came out literally the day after, that he's already broken the Presidential Records Act in like his second day. So what happened was he made a tweet and then he spelt the word honored wrong, obviously, because he's an idiot. And then he deleted the tweet. But the thing is that when you're the president, if you make a public announcement, it automatically becomes public property and has the right to be preserved according to this Presidential Records Act, which was passed in like 1978, I think. And clearly, Trump no one had told him. Was like, hey man, just by the way, don't delete your tweets. Cool, bye. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna delete. And then within 2 days, he'd already violated some shit that only the president can violate. So, yeah, I mean, what a dickhead. It's gonna be a good 3 years. Let's all just admit that right from the start, okay? That's probably enough about Trump, but let's all just collectively agree it's not as bad as we first thought, okay? That's my opinions on Trump. What else did I want to talk about? I think we should talk about something a bit lighter now. Just something like, like maybe another fun fact. No, we'll leave. Actually, we'll probably, have more fun next week with another fun fact. So, so this year, for me, is the 21st year, right? The year where everyone has a 21st, because all my friends from school and stuff, like I turned 21 in March, but this year's the year of the 21st, right? And we had our very first one on the weekend. So it was a pretty good first hit out. They did run out of beer early, which is disappointing, but one thing did come out of the night that I thought was quite interesting, and it made me think, I'm like, holy shit, no situation has ever ended well if it started with, oi boys, watch this. Never. Okay, so one of my mates, we're all having a drink or whatever, having fun, and we're just sitting around talking, and one of my mates goes, oi boys, watch this. So we all turn around like, this is going to be good. And this is like, he just did a dumb thing. His girlfriend of like 3 or 4 years was tying like a shoe or fixing a shoe or something, and she was kneeling down, and he thought it would be funny to leapfrog her. So he went to leapfrog her, but then because he was a bit drunk, he just kneed her in the face, and then she went down, and we thought she was concussed for a bit. Like, it was a whole thing. He just kneed her straight in the face. And for a bit, because he was like, watch this, and he kneed her, like, it didn't even make a proper attempt to leapfrog over her. He just bowled straight into her. And for like a bit, I was like, was that what we were supposed to watch? Like him, like, oh, watch this, boys, I'm going to knock out my girlfriend. Like, what? And obviously it was an accident and stuff, and then she was cool, everyone was okay. But then I was like to him after, I'm like, hey, just putting it out there, like, say if you had have successfully leapfrogged her, and he's like, yeah. Like, I wouldn't have been that impressed. Like, for a boys, oi, watch this, like, you've got to do something pretty incredible to then back up how big of a claim that is. Like, you've got to pull out a whip and a fedora and not told us about 12 weeks of whip lessons and just start cracking it, and we'd be like, holy shit, like, he learned how to use it, that's worth me turning around for. But instead, oi, boys, watch this, and then he just bowls over, like, uncoordinated, like, it was so unco, he just bowled over his girlfriend and hit her in the face. I was like, you're not Indiana Jones, man. Don't tell me to turn around unless you're pretty much Indiana Jones, or that's the level. Yeah, whip is the standard. So, or if you put out like a lasso and then swung the lasso and then threw it into the esky and then pulled back a beer for all the boys, that'd be worth us turning around for, okay? That's impressive. I couldn't do that. So I feel like for all the boys out there, be careful when you're putting out an, oi boys, watch this. Make it worth it for the lads, or else you're just dogging the boys, really. So, that's what I learned on the weekend. So now, for every 21st, if I ever say, oi boys, watch this, they're going to see something fucking special, okay? They're going to, like, witness some sick card trick. Or not even, actually, that doesn't make the cut. They're going to have to witness me, like, disappear out of thin air. Like, oi, boys, watch this. And, like, I go up in a puff of smoke, and they're like, oh, shit. Luke's probably dead, but that was worth turning my head 90 degrees. That's the level, okay, guys, out there. You need to stick to that level. Here's an example of something that would have been worth turning around for. If me and the boys were hanging out with Ethan Bradbury halfway through his race at that games where he won gold right before everyone fell down. He's an Australian ice rink skater at the Winter Olympics, and he was coming last by a mile. Everyone fell down, came in to win gold. The right before everyone fell down in that race, if he had been like, "Oi boys, watch this," and then everyone falls over, wins gold for Australia like a national hero, that would have been worth turning my head 90 degrees, okay? Not worth me turning my head 90 degrees to see my mate almost knock out his girlfriend with an uncoordinated drunk knee. So that's just a lesson for you boys out there. Before you yell at anything, before you attention grab, think about what you're going to do. Because it was very clear that he'd unthought out the leapfrog. So, that's what I wanted to talk about. What else have I done this week? Oh, I went to the beach again, which was good. Just doing the classic white boy surfing. So, again, rocking out with my board. Actually getting alright now, though. So, getting better at surfing. Actually, it was funny. Like, there was more sharks spotted at the beach we were going to. I think we just need to pick a new beach. But there was more sharks spotted there, like, in the week before we went. And the helicopters were flying over again. And, like, all my mates, like, and my brother particularly, like, they all started freaking out. And this was partly due to one of my mates did cut his hand on his board, so he was bleeding everywhere in the water. It was definite shark bait. So, yeah, that was the only concern. But then I thought about it. I was like, why is my brother freaking out? Because I looked at me, and I'm, like, really skinny. And then I looked at him, and he's smaller than me. Like, he's shorter and, like, just as skinny. And I'm like, dude, you're not a good snack for a shark. There is nothing about you that says, like, oh, you'd be a satisfying meal. Like, at all. He's just not a meal. He's like if at best, like, I'm like a muesli bar for a shark. But not a good muesli bar, like a shitty dried apricot one that's, like, left, just left in the cupboard for 6 months. Why would a shark choose me over a fish? Like, fish are delicious. We eat them. Pretty much anyone who is scared or, like, actually petrified of being attacked by a shark, you think a bit much of yourself, okay? If you really think that you're that much of a good snack, go out there, prove it. I bet you they'll have one crack at you, have a nibble of your knee and go, you taste like dog shit, mate. Don't you think a bit much of yourself. Go home, you're not that good. So you're pretty much... like at the buffet, right? At the shark buffet, you're like the celery stick. Really, there's better meals out there, okay? He's going to go for the chocolate mousse. He's going to go for the scallops. He's going to go for the prawns. Like, there's better shit out in the ocean for him to eat. You might get attacked by a homeless shark, maybe, which is unlikely, though, because there's no such thing as a homeless shark. Unless there's a shark on the beach, stranded, or... sharks in the aquarium. Oh, that's their home now, but... pretty much, yeah, unless, like, there's a shark stranded on a beach, that's the only such thing as a homeless shark, because it's out of its home. And that's what I hate. Another thing I hate, people go, like, oh my god, there's sharks out there, why? And you're like, that's where they are. It's the ocean. Like, you're invading their house. Like, that's like going, like, oh my god, there's hookers in St. Kilda. Well, why? Because that's where they are. That's just, like, oh, there's elephants in Africa. Well done. That's where they originate from. Good on you, dickhead. Like, I don't know why it's so surprising to people. Like, every summer they go, oh, I forget about the sharks. You're like, yeah, because it's not where you live, mate. Like, that, if they rocked up to your house, you'd be pretty pissed off. Oh, you'd probably try and bite him. You might get your baseball bat out. You go, what are you doing on my lawn, shark? And he's like, but I would be able to absolutely mess up a land shark. If a shark came knocking on my door, I would harpoon, just like a lamb harpoon, just a javelin straight to the shark. I would ruin a land shark. Really, its only advantage is water. But that's the whole, fin thing, I guess. Here's a good one. Do you reckon it would be easier to get away from a fat shark or a skinny shark? Because I reckon a fat shark would be more buoyant. And he'd be way easier to distract as well. You're like, oh yeah, Dorito. And then he's like, what? And then you just throw a bit of seaweed and he's like, oh, Dorito. And then you swim away. You're fine. Yeah, I would much rather take on a fat shark than a skinny shark. Because, like, a skinny shark would be like, you'd be like, oh, yeah, Dorito. And he'd be like, I'm a shark. I don't know what a Dorito is. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, shit. And then he'd eat you. But fat sharks, they're none the wiser. They'd be like, Dorito, that sounds delicious and cheesy. Will there ever be a week where I don't go, oh, if this animal's fat, what would that be like? Nope. No, there won't. If you wanted to know the answer to that question, no. This is every week, okay? You know what's annoying? So this week, I only got sent one podcast question. Only one the whole week. But I got about 20 pictures of fat birds. You guys suck. Like, it was a pretty good question, but like, you know, what one person contributing, everyone else going, look, do you reckon this sparrow's overweight? Yep, it is. Because you Googled fat bird. And they're like, oh, yeah, I did. I just thought it would be funny. And you're like, yeah, okay, it was okay. I've already got that picture 3 times this week. So, but when you Google fat bird, right, or Google it now, everyone sends me the same picture. Because people clearly go, oh, I can send Luke a thing. They send me, oh, actually, a beast bird's pretty good. Man. Yeah, but everyone sends me the same picture of the fat bird sitting on the branch. Don't send me that one. I've already got it. It's already saved as my desktop screensaver, okay? So, I don't need it anymore. You know, it's the last thing I kiss before I go to bed every night. I don't need another one. So yeah, I'm gonna answer the one question that I got sent in, and that's probably the end of the podcast. Because, like, I'll be honest, this week it hasn't been an exhilarating week. You know, last week everything happened. It's just crazy content, and this week, really, like, I was just super busy. I've been writing for the show. I've been writing small music reviews. I've been trying to work on another series other than a music review for my music channel. Oh, sorry, for my YouTube channel. That's the thing, I don't want it to be just music reviews. That's one thing I've really trying to do, actually. Because I know you guys really like the music reviews, and it's all people ever request. It's like, talk about fat birds, do another music review. I think, like, I can offer more to the world than just those two things. I mean, some of you are probably surprised. They're going, what, Luke? No, your skills are just fat birds and roasting 13-year-olds. No, believe it or not, I can talk about fat possums and roast 15-year-olds. I'm that diverse, okay? I'm a man with many talents, so let me do them, let me explore them. So yeah, that's why I've been trying to make this year a massive year for YouTube. So I'm currently still in the planning stage of just, you know, working on something new, something different for the YouTube channel, and I've got more sketches. Second You Don't Own Me thing is coming out definitely this week, probably tomorrow night. So yeah, just been working on all my talents, and then I got to Monday and I was like, oh shit, it's podcast day. What do I talk about? Nothing happened this week. I was talking about Trump. Trump happened. That's what I really read about. Obviously, there was that horrible incident that happened. If you're not from Melbourne, the terrible thing. This guy was crazy, psychopath, ran up on the footpath in Burke Street in Melbourne, and I ran over like 20 people, and 5 people are now confirmed dead. And I was like, I don't even know what to say about that. So I don't know why I brought it up then, but it was a horrible thing. So really, this week was a bit of a bummer. So that's why the podcast is A, going to be shorter this week. B, it will be better next week, just because this week I'm actually having a busy and more interesting week. So I bet there'll be way more stuff that happens and to talk about next week. But yeah, this week, you know, those weeks, it's just a bummer. I mean, it sucks. Episode 20, it should have been a good one. But really, episode 19 was a banger. So, you know, you get what you pay for, which is nothing. This is free, so I don't try to give a shit anymore. Alright, I'm going to answer the one question that I got sent in. And can you guys please send in more questions so I can answer more next week? It's luke.kidgell@gmail.com. If you've got any, this one's a relationship advice one, but if you've got any, like, life advice, just random questions for me, about anything, send it in. I'm always happy to answer it. Should be good. So, that's luke.kidgell@gmail.com. And, yeah, so this one's from Jaden. Hey, Luke, love your podcast. So I'm having some girl troubles at the moment. Yeah, you are. Oh, Jaden's got a girl. Everybody, Jaden's got a girlfriend. Oh, not girl. Jaden's got a girl. Jaden M, whatever a face, sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes, whatever. You, pussy man. Hey, hang out with the boys, Jaden. Yeah, all right. I'm done. Okay, so I'll now help you with your girl troubles. Now that I've called you out for being a bitch, coming from someone who's been in a relationship for 3 years, you pussy. On the last day of school last year, I finally got the courage to ask the girl out who I had a massive crush on all year. You waited till the last day? Dude, get some balls. At least ask her out in like September. Then you got 3 months to chill before summer. Okay. The only problem is, she said maybe, and then just left straight away. That's so brutal. You asked her out and she said, and in quotation marks, maybe, then left straight away. Yeah, dude, that's a no. Okay, if she didn't say yes, that's a no. I have tried to catch up with her over the summer, but she's been overseas, so I'm just going to wait until I get back at school next year. I'm already freaking out about how awkward it will be when I return to school, as I haven't seen her in over 6 weeks. What should I do? Do you reckon I'm still in with a shot with this girl? No. No. Sorry, no. You're not. Okay, keep up the great work. I've got tickets for your Melbourne show already. I can't wait. Oh, okay, now I feel bad. Um, Thank you for buying tickets to my show, man. That's so cool. Look, I'm sorry for laughing, but no, she's not. You're not still in with the shot with her. I think this has happened to me before. I think she just said no, probably. I think I've asked out a girl before summer once. It was in like primary school. Like I just like it was like, do you want to be my girlfriend? Like on the last day, because that's what. Yeah, I get what you're doing. That's when you do it. You're like, oh, because then if she says no, I don't have to see her for 6 weeks, and she kind of did. But now the 6 weeks, the jig's up, and you're gonna have to face her now, which is where it's get. I think I've been in this situation, and I'm pretty sure I just ignored her for like a week. Primary school. I like asked some girl out, and then she's like, no, sorry. I don't do that. She like saw my face and was like, ew. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't see her for 6 weeks. Had a summer, came back, and I was like, oh shit. I almost forgot about it, I think. And then the first day I made eye contact with her and probably never spoke to her again. So that'd be my advice. That's the immature thing to do. But if you're in high school, that was a very primary school thing. But if you're in high school, I would just say, dude, just be like, hey, I don't want to, I don't know. This is really hard one, actually. Hopefully she starts talking to you, and I think it's pretty rude that she hasn't messaged you actually saying, hey, so about the last day of school, I had to think about it. I don't think it will work, but I really, that's kind of up to her to let you down easy. That's a bitchy thing to do, actually. Just say maybe, then leave you hanging for 6 weeks, and then not contacting you. Fair enough, she's been overseas, but she could have contacted you like that night. I'm sure you have each other on Facebook or each other's phone number or something. That sucks. My advice would be get to school. Don't be weird about it, man. Don't make it weird. Get to school. If you see her, be like, hey, how was your summer? How was overseas? Make some small talk. She'll talk about her trip. And then, I don't know. I don't think it's up to you of being like, so, about that question I asked you. I think it's up to her to be like, she'll know. She'll remember. I think it's up to her to give you a final answer, either say yes or no, sorry, I don't think it's going to work. And I think you've got to accept whatever she says, man. There's nothing you can do about it. But I would suggest, if you're freaking out about just make it being awkward, you're saying you're freaking about how awkward it will be. I think if you just ask about how a trip was, don't be weird about it. Almost pretend like it didn't happen. That's what I'd do. I'd be like, sorry, remember that thing that didn't happen? And hopefully she goes, yeah, let's never speak of it again. I'd be like, cool, and then walk away. But just ask about her trip. That's a good thing. The fact that she's done something cool over summer means you got a good thing to ask her about. That's my advice, man. Try not to be awkward. And then I think it's really up to her to give you a final answer, and you should accept that. That is my advice. Thank you, Jaden. I will see you at my show. That's the end. Actually, no, it's not. I need to read out iTunes reviews for you all. A few people have left a review. I'm getting it up now. You guys got to start, you guys are so nice. You just leave really nice 5-star reviews that really compliments the podcast. You should, start making them funny. I mean, actually, some of you do leave pretty brutal ones, actually. This one's from Saki. This podcast is so much better than Spearhead Sundays. Suck shit, Lewis. This one's from Mia. I hate the podcasts. I hate podcasts, seeing as I'm not a professional podcast reviewer. I'm pretty lost for words. Truly grateful to be graced by this masterpiece. That's really inconsistent. You say you hate podcasts, but you think mine's a masterpiece. You've clearly just never listened to other podcasts. This podcast is shit. Listen to Hamish and Andy. They're good. It's a great podcast. I binge listen to this podcast all night and have no regrets at all. Memoirs of a White Guy has really opened my eyes to what it is actually like to be a white guy. It stays true to its title. I like one podcast now, so thank you. That's the most accurate thing ever. If you were like, oh, what it's like to be white? Listen to this. It's so good. The worst thing that happened to me this week was I felt a bit bad for ruining my local Safeway self-serve machine with my sticky coins. And I didn't even really feel that bad. It was like good content for the podcast. Like, that's how good my life is. Being white, you should try it. Like, brown guys out there, you get on it. It's good shit. So next review, this is the last one, I think. Quality content, 5 stars. Makes my Mondays suck that little bit less. You guys are too kind. So keep leaving reviews. Also, this podcast, I think I had trouble uploading it last week, and I'm about to go to work. It's going to be up later, so you're going to have to listen to it Monday night. I apologize, but it's alright. You'll be listening to it now, and we'll have sucked it up. So yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Thank you all very much for listening to yet another chapter of this epic tale that really wasn't that epic this week. It was really this mundane tale that is my life. I really appreciate it. Melbourne shows are still on sale. I'd love to see you all there. Selling really well, so get in quick. And yeah, thank you for listening. Catch it. Wait, I need like an outro. Bye. That was pretty creative. I'm gonna stick with that from now on.